Hi, I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm sending this out to let you know you won't be hearing from me for a while. I'm trying to record this using public equipment at the downtown library, so I have to apologize for all the background noise, but it can't be helped. I just wanted to let you all know what's up with me before I disappear. It's the floaters, of course. There's a nest of them here in Regina, and they found out about my channel. Sorry, I'm just gonna duck in my head. They know where I live and they've been harassing me. I have to keep my drapes drawn as they peer into my windows at night, whispering and jeering and not letting me get any rest. Let us in, Warren. Oh, let us in. We know you're in there. Let us in. I will never let them in. I never speak to them. Don't ever speak to them. Speaking to them only increases their hold on you, hold on your mind. But they are driving me nuts, so I fled this afternoon. Bright sunlight usually keeps them away, or at least keeps their floating heads at bay. I don't know how well this is working, this echo, but I'm just going to I need to tell you guys what's happening. Anyways, I took off during the daytime because they prefer night when they're less visible. Of course, they had me under observation and tried to follow me with this old junker, which I think was supposed to be a black Trans Am, like 83 or something, but it was hard to tell with all the dirt and rust covering the body. I let it on a merry chase around town. Yeah, through alleys and down one-way streets, and I finally managed to lose them. I ran all red, but I managed to lose them. They always seem to drive radial clunkers. The night floaters always had a whiff of the trailer park about them. I've come down to the public library so I can broadcast directly to you guys. I'm hiding in plain sight because I figured they wouldn't dare attack with so many people around. This room I'm in has a big window, so I guess I'm pretty exposed. But I can see them too. I see one of them now, the skanky blonde with the dark glasses. Yeah, the one I nailed in the eyes with the hot sauce. I don't think she'll get too close. 'Cause I did grab my bottle of sriracha sauce on my way out the door. I have a plastic bag by my side, just in case. But if they think they have me trapped, well, I worked in this building for nearly a decade, and I know all the hidden exits. I'll be gone before they can detach their heads and attempt to follow me. Yeah, 'cause I might have to wait till night so they could try that, but they won't even know I'm gone till I'm gone. I may go to Calgary, I may go to Edmonton, or lose myself in Toronto. I may even go back to my old hometown, where this nightmare started so many years ago. I'll try to make videos and send updates when I can, but it might be kind of spotty for a while. I'll set this video to play on YouTube after I've already taken off, as I'm sure they monitor the channel to find out what I'm up to. So stay tuned and keep me in your thoughts and prayers. One of them just looked into the room. The sleazy looking dude I've seen before. Part of me was tempted to wave at him, but why push it? He's in the doorway, like what's he doing? Anyways, I'm rambling. Time to sign out. So remember, the night floaters really do exist. Keep your windows closed and your drapes pulled tight at night. And then you may have pleasant dreams. Yes? What do you want? Piss off. Piss off or I'll call security. I'm not talking to you. Want some hot sauce? Sriracha? In the eyes? Sorry guys, I gotta go. Stay tuned. Pray for me. I thought I should give you guys a quick update. I'm currently hiding in plain sight here in the food court at the Eaton Center in the downtown of the Big Smoke. That's Toronto for you non-Canadians. Since I got here, I've been staying at cheap hotels, but never more than one night in each place. So I've been able to stay one step ahead of them, because they know I'm here. I've been spending a lot of time in research libraries, looking for examples of the night floaters in history and folklore, to see if I can find out their origins, and any weaknesses they may have. And I found some interesting stuff, which I'll tell you about when I get back. It was okay for a few days, but late one afternoon, I noticed a guy following me. I was sure I'd glimpsed him once or twice during the last few days. He had the look. Skinny, dark, and clean, wearing old ratty clothes that really stood out on Tony Bay Street. I went into the Manulife Center, which is a big underground mall there, and went in and out of stores, up and down escalators, and finally hid in the back of an Italian restaurant, killing time with a birra Moretti. But when I went out, it wasn't long before he picked me up again. I went to the cinema, and bought a ticket for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, took my seat in the dark, waited about 20 minutes and slunk out to see if I could shake him. It was a waste of $15.50. The creep was still on my tail, so I headed for the subway and caught a train heading west. Walking through several cars on my way to the front end of the train. Of course, he followed me, staying one car back. As we approached the next station, I stood up like I was getting off. He stood up. When the doors opened, I stepped out. He stepped out. I stepped back onto the train. He stepped back. Standoff. I went and sat back down, and he did the same. Getting back up and standing by the door when I got up and stood by the doors. Standoff. My break came at Christie Station. I had stepped off the train and my shadow stepped off as well. But at that moment, a crowd of excited kids, surged through the open door of the subway car. The creep had to sidestep them to get onto the platform, and as he did, I dived back into the train, ducking down out of sight. The creep looked around frantically for me, but as the doors closed and the train began moving. Once I'd realized I escaped, I know I shouldn't have done this, but I stood up and waved at him like Fernando Rey in that old film, The French Connection. I don't think he thought it was funny. Most fugitives would have got out at the next stop, but I hung on to the end of the line. It's a long, boring ride, but I was too excited to notice. I then caught the next train back into the heart of the city and alighted at a quiet station near the university. I had lost him. Wait, hold on a second. Hold on. It's okay, it was a false alarm. So like I say, now I'm here in the Eaton Center. You have to excuse all the background noise. It's not as bad as it was a while ago. But I wanted to give you guys an update on what's been happening to me. I plan to be moving on soon, and will sign off now as I've been here in the food court a bit too long. I try to keep moving in public. The creep is here. I see him coming down the escalator, and he has two other critters with him. An extremely thin man, all in black, and a chunky woman with black lipstick and a 5 o'clock shadow. Shit. I can see them scanning the room. I gotta go. I'll be in touch. Shit. They see me. Pray for me. Hi, it's me. I'm sending this from a Timmy's in Jokeville. I'm not going to say which one, as I have the hellhounds on my trail. But it isn't the one where this all began so many years ago. Looks like they've torn it down and they're building something else on the lot. I guess you can't go home again. Not that I really wanted to, but there are things I need to find out before they get me. As I say, I'm inside a Tim, so I'll apologize for the background noise, and I've got to kind of talk close to the mic because there are people around and trying not to attract any more attention than I have to. Well, get this. I've spoken with them. I went out to Dracula's castle, the old silo, or at least I went to where it was. Now it's a pretty vacant lot with a number of factories and a few cone-shaped salt storage units on it. You know, those tit-shaped things that you see sometimes by the highway? But the trail was still there, the rutted path by the train tracks, and I walked it for old time's sake. And eventually I found a depression where the foundation of the silo had been. Don't ask me why I went there. I just did. It was calling to me. Well, I stood there ruminating for a few minutes until I heard the sound of an engine, and looking down the rutted trail I saw an old car. A very old car approaching. No, I told myself. It couldn't be. But it was. A black 1951 Buick Roadmaster. The one that had followed me so many nights. The one connected with them and worse. It stopped, and a man got out. And it was the same man from back then, now old, tall and cadaverously thin, with a pockmarked face. He must have been 75 years old at least. The hair was thin now and steel gray, but it had once been an unruly black mop. He stared at me, his features taut with hate. "Why have you come back?" he said. "You know why." "You think we harass you? Did you ever think you were the one harassing us?" "I want to know what you are and why you exist. You've always existed in the shadows, haven't you?" "You'll never know, unless you want to become one of us." "Never. Never," I said. "Huh. Sure you're not one of us now?" he said, laughing. But it was a mirthless, menacing laugh. More like a threat, right? He turned to go, but I called after him. "Where did this all begin?" "Here." "Here? What kind of an answer is that?" "Oh, sorry, there's some disturbance." He didn't even bother to turn around, but got back into the Buick and slowly drove away. Suddenly I was certain I was under observation, and I should leave, like right now. There's some kind of disturbance going on here. No, I think I'm okay. I guess it was a mistake to come here. You can't go home again. But somehow I couldn't resist. It was calling me, drawing me like a moth to a flame. But it's time to go. As I say, there's something going on here. I gotta leave right now. But I'll be in touch when I can. Please pray for me. Hi, it's me. I'm sending this from the lobby art gallery of the Oakville Public Library, where I've been doing some research on the night floaters. I remember all the nights me and my buddies sat smoking butts in the entranceway here, which was the smoking area in the library. Yeah, in the good old days. Anyways, I found this in an 1885 edition of the Oakville Journal. I'll read it to you, and please excuse the flowery language that reporters employed back then. August 5th, 1885. Mysterious death in Oakville Harbor. Man without a head. The normally peaceful environs of the Oakville Harbor have been thrown into turmoil by the sensational discovery in the early hours of the Sabbath morn of the headless body of the notorious ne'er-do-well and local character, Albert or Ab Ireton, which was found sprawled out near the Coast Guard station by night watchman Purkis. The good official at first believed that the old toper was under the weather, but on attempting to wake him, was horrified to ascertain that he was shaking a headless corpse. The watchman roused the waterfront with his cries for assistance, and was soon surrounded by a crowd of frightened onlookers, amongst them Constable Heel. A quick search of the immediate vicinity failed to disclose the missing appendage, which is presumed fallen into the lake, and which may never drift into shore and be recovered. The condition of the corpse has caused additional confusion, whilst a puckered orifice appears in the area where the head and neck were attached to the trunk of the body. There are no obvious signs of decapitation or violence. It is fervently hoped the coroner, Dr. Abbott, will be able to bring light where all is currently in the most profound darkness. That was the August 5th edition. So here's the August 12th edition. Sorry for the background noise, but I'm hearing broadcasting, as I say, right from the library. And it kind of echoes in this corridor here. People passing by. Ireton died of this is from the August 12th, 1885 edition. Ireton died of natural causes. Head found far from the rest of the body. A coroner's jury, convened on Wednesday last in the tap room of the Oakville House, returned a verdict of death by misadventure in the mysterious case of Ab or Albert Ireton, a notorious wastrel whose headless body was discovered by the Coast Guard station in the early mornings of the Sabbath last. Testimony from Dr. Abbott indicated the deceased expired from heart failure, the result of many years of hard living. However, the good medico was unable to explain the lack of any obvious wound at the spot where the neck meets the trunk of the body. It appeared the head had simply detached itself. The puzzle of the missing head was further obscured when Ireton's noggin was discovered lying in a flower bed underneath the windows of a home on Upper Navy Street, a considerable walk from the location where the body was found. No rational explanation could be advanced as to its presence there, but a most curious story is told by Eliza, a maidservant living in an attic room. The hired girl has been troubled in her sleep for several nights and had suffered a reoccurring nightmare of a man with long, unkempt hair, a weather-worn face, and flaming red eyes peering through her bedroom window and leering at her. The face described certainly recalls Ireton's vulgar features, but it would have been impossible for the old sot to have hovered 30 feet above ground to perform such nocturnal spying. Ireton was known to the young woman, who was definitely afraid of him and his attentions, so it is generally believed that she imagined the entire episode, but other domestics in the area have been troubled by visions of men gaping at them in the dead of night. Okay, just hold on a second. Just hold on. I gotta shut up for a minute. Yeah, sorry about that. Some guy came in and he was kind of staring at me. So I just thought I would play it cool for a minute, but he's moved on. Maybe it's probably just a regular library patron. But that's good advice to me that, or a good reminder that I should probably get a move on. I've kind of got the hellhounds on my trail, so I just got to keep moving. But did you get the implications of that news report? I mean, you got a headless body, a head found far away from the body, and rumors of spying in windows by members of the opposite sex. It seems obvious to me that Ireton was a night floater, and there must have been several of them if other servant girls were harassed. I'm going to do some more digging and see what I can find out about old Ab. I wonder if I went to school with any of his descendants. as there were a lot of people named Ireton around when I was growing up. I wonder. Hey, wait a minute. That guy's coming back again. He's pretending to look at his phone, but I think he's actually kind of keeping his eye on me. Well, I gotta go right now. I'll be in touch when I can, if I can. Bye. Hi, it's me. I'm going to be trying to keep my voice down here, so I'm trying not to attract any attention. So I hope you guys can hear me. And I'm also getting echo in my mic, which is, it's like the night floaters or unpleasant people are looking over my shoulders. It's kind of creeping me out, but my whole visit here is creeping me out. As if you've been following this, know that I've been in Jokeville doing research into the origins of the night floaters. I'm not going to tell you where I'm sending this from, just that it's a public place. You can probably hear the noise in the background. And once this is sent, I'm gone, if not earlier. If you don't know what I'm talking about, because I'm getting some comments that suggest people have no idea what I'm talking about, that they don't know what a night floater is, here is a definition. A night floater or floaters are beings able to detach their heads from the trunks of their bodies. The heads then being able to fly or float at will, or bob through the air like a buoy bobbing on a body of water. They fly through the night to feed on the flesh, the blood, and the sanity of their victims, and have been victimizing me since I was about 8 years old. Sorry, there's some people coming around. I'm just checking out to see who they are. Oh yeah, it's nothing to worry about. I'm also been trying to find out some more about a potential night floater named Albert or Ab Ireton. I mentioned him in one of my last broadcasts, and I found an article by an ethnologist or an ethnic studies guy. As I say, I'm trying to keep my voice down. There's people kind of almost on top of me. Anyways, this ethnic studies guy from the University of Toronto actually interviewed him and described him as an elderly wharf rat. So Ireton related the following information, and I quote, "Back in them olden days, there was a native conjurer named Wendat, who could do some powerful magic, like foretell the future or talk with the spirit gods. Another thing he could do was separate his head from his body in order to travel on the night winds and spy on people. They would bind him hand and foot and lay him inside a tent with just a hole in the top for the head to get out, I suppose. The tent would shake and you'd hear him mumbling inside, but when they lifted the flap, the body was there all trussed up, but his head was gone. I seen this for myself when I was just a little gaffer. Then later, the tent would commence shaking again to beat the band, and then Wendat would emerge and tell what he saw. They was a number of them could work the magic, kind of occult-like, and there was some white people initiated into it as well. Not that I know who they are." Yeah, the chuckle was mine. I'm sure he knew who they were. Ireton, of course, was rumored to be able to detach his head from his body, a feat he was said to perform for nefarious purposes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was one on a night floater. But whatever the truth of the rumors, what is known for certain is that Ireton was found dead, minus his head. Now, early settlers might have learned about the floaters from the local First Nations people, and they would have dismissed the idea as superstition until a series of events around the village of Proudfoot's Hollow made them rethink their conclusions. Proudfoot's Hollow was established in 1827 when George Chalmers established both a saw and a grist mill on the 16 at the Dundas Crossing, the current site of Lions Valley Park, a village complete with homes, blacksmiths, and a church and school as well as a tavern and a still, quickly grew to an establishment of 500 people, a considerable population for that time and place. Chalmers sold his business to John Proudfoot, who gave the hamlet its name. Official histories say the village declined after the coming of the railroad to Oakville in 1855, but folklore tells a different tale. Okay, just hang on a second. I'll be right back. I gotta check something out here. Just one moment. There's somebody over there. I am back. It's like it's just a false alarm. Anyways, the decline of Proudfoot Hollow has been blamed on other things besides the arrival of the railroad. Here's some possible reasons why it declined. In the early spring of 1838, at a time the countryside was convulsed by the after effects of the rebellion, a girl by the name of Mary Hankey was walking to her home, where she was working as a servant, after visiting her parents' farm. As she made her way along the path leading down to the village, a face or head darted from behind the nearby trees. After hypnotizing her with its fiery red eyes, the head began to kiss her face, its lips burning like a flame. The young girl ran from the scene screaming, whilst the head bobbed away in the darkness. Searchers summoned to the scene could find no trace of it. In 1843, an older woman and her pregnant daughter were badly frightened when a hideous human head, shrieking like a banshee, flew at them from out of the darkness as they were returning from a visit to the nearby village of Palermo. The daughter, unfortunately, later miscarried. Later that same year, one Brewster, the village watchman in the hollow, fired upon what he said, in quotes, was a discombobulated head that came flying at him from out of the tombstones in the churchyard, in which it swooped down on him like a night owl. The guard was accused of drinking and later dismissed. But after the watchman's dismissal, his story was given more credence when a white devil's head came plunging out of the darkness to attack the driver of the westbound stagecoach as it neared Palermo. The Jehu nearly lost control and narrowly avoided winding up in the ditch. A few of the passengers suffered minor injuries, but were attended to at the nearby tavern, where the driver, who was generally regarded as a sober and straight-walking man, had occasion to medicate himself with several draughts of strong drink. Yeah, I don't doubt it, and I know the feeling too. A number of similar reports caused a state of near panic to break out among the small and often isolated villages in the area, with armed patrols walking the dark and silent streets. It was only a matter of time before a tragedy occurred. On the unusually balmy night of January 3rd, 1845, a former soldier named William Smith saw a white shape which appeared to be floating amongst the tombstones of the churchyard in the hollow. Imagining it to be a floating object or head, he yelled for the apparition to halt. When it failed to do so, he fired a load of buckshot at it, at which point the pale orb vanished from sight. Taking a dark lantern, the armed men found the corpse of Robert Stevenson, a local farmhand who had been among the search party but who had wandered off on his own. Smith was charged with his death and stood trial at the assizes, but was acquitted, receiving a tongue lashing from Justice Moody on the folly of armed citizens taking the law in their own hands in the manner of, and here I quote, "the benighted republic to the south of us." But the death of Robert Stevens was nothing compared to the sensation caused by the discovery of a headless body in early July of 1847 on the banks of the 16 north of the hollow. The body, which was apparently naked, was that of a male lying on its back among the shrubbery. It was discovered by some women out berry picking. What was disturbing to the constabulary in those pre-forensic days Yeah, they just couldn't, call on CSSI to help them. Was the condition of the corpse, which appeared to be asleep rather than dead. There were no obvious signs of decapitation, but a gaping hole, which nevertheless did not appear to be a fresh wound, at the end of the neck. A night floater? The body was never identified, but it was noted that a farmhand, a slovenly individual named Painter, had disappeared. I wonder what happened to his head. Wait a minute, there's somebody lingering over there in the doorway. I'm just gonna pretend I'm looking at my phone here, doing something else. I guess they're just looking at books. It's okay. Anyways, various rumors of flying heads or devils and of headless bodies were whispered at isolated firesides throughout the 19th century, and no doubt a number of pranks and practical jokes added to the mystery and consternation. Another popular legend dates to the time of the Fenian troubles. The story goes something like this. A member of the militia was on sentry duty along the Dundas Road when he saw something approaching him through the thick darkness of the moonless night. I need a drink. He demanded that his assailant identify himself, only to have, quote, the head of Beelzebub come flying out of the murk to smite him in the face. The soldier struck the head with his fists and then tried to bat it with his rifle, but it flew off into the woods at tremendous speed and vanished from sight. The sentry never had a chance to fire his weapon. A satanic connection, and this is really interesting, a satanic connection is suggested by the incident described as the Devil's Kisses. On the night of July 8th, 9th, 1875, Halton County was threatened by thunderstorms, which filled the night air with both electricity and anticipation. Witnesses in a number of communities, including Oakville, Bronte, and Palermo, reported terrifying encounters with decapitated heads, which harassed them, sometimes groups of them, as they made their way down the darkened country roads, nipping, biting, and even kissing them. Others, especially young women, reported floating heads which would hang outside their bedroom windows and even press their lips against the glass. Shades of that old wharf rat, Ab Ireton. Anyways, 9 months later, the county experienced an epidemic of unwed pregnancies. I wonder how many descendants of those unwed pregnancies are there out there. Unwed and unwanted. And I wonder how many of them are or became floaters. Anyways, I found all these accounts by scanning the book in the local history collection, but I haven't found any newer stuff, like the 20th century, yet, but I'll try. Wait a sec. Yeah, okay, it's time to go. I'm going to leave this town, period. This place is getting to be a little too hot for me. But please excuse me for not telling you where I'm headed. I'll be in touch when I can. If I can. If. They say you can't go home again. They're right. Hi. It's me again. I'll never get out of these blues alive. I'm back here in Western Canada, but I'm not at home right now. I'm sending this from a coffee shop. It's 3 a.m., but I'm afraid to go home. So I'm just sitting here drinking black coffee and maybe in the morning I'll catch the first plane out, going anywhere. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I'm just so tired of running. When I first got back, I closed all the drapes and left the lights off so they wouldn't know I was there. I had been, for those of you following the channel, I was back home in the town I grew up, researching the origins of the night floaters, those beings that are able to detach their heads from the trunks of their bodies, to fly through the night to attack and spy on others. But I had done all my work there, and it was getting hot, so I headed back to Western Canada. And when I got to my house, I closed all the drapes and left all the lights off so they wouldn't know I was in there. And it worked. At first. Maybe for about 24 hours. Until early, very early yesterday morning, when one of them knocked on my door. I didn't answer, wasn't going to answer, until a voice said, "I know you're in there, Warren, so please let me in. I have things to say to you, and I don't wish to say them standing on your front step." Yeah, I know, it was stupid, but I let him in. I figured I might as well get it over with. Whatever was going to happen was going to happen. It was a tall old man from the town where I grew up. We sat at my dining room table in the dark, and he began saying, "Have you ever wondered why you've interacted with us? With those of us you call night floaters? This has been a pattern for your entire life, has it not?" "Yeah, I've thought about it," I admitted. "Is it because of the floater that tormented me by attacking me in my bedroom when I was 6 years old? And then there was that floater, or at least her body, I found by the train tracks when I was 9. Why do you think these things happened?" I didn't say anything to that. I was afraid to speculate, to where it might lead. His face was in shadow as he leaned forward and said, "It's because you're one of us." I immediately began sputtering denials. "I can't detach my head from my body." He leaned in even closer. "Have you ever tried?" He told me a lot of things then, things I didn't want to hear, didn't want to know. Apparently some are born with the ability to detach their heads from their bodies, but others are initiated into the practice. And once one has tasted flesh or blood, their transformation is confirmed, and they will live on and die as night floaters. The process even causes physical changes. You're heavy and rather fair, but you won't be after you've transitioned. Yeah, that's right. That was the word he used. After I've transitioned. You will become more like us. Dark, thin, furtive, and ugly, I would have added, but I was keeping my mouth shut. Ugly, physically and spiritually. Unclean. Oh, hold on a second. Where I'm sitting, I can look out the window at the parking lot across the street. Even though it's 3 a.m., all the light standards are on. I thought I saw something white flitting between the light standards. Something like a head. No, it's nothing. Jesus, I wish I had a cigarette. A non-filtered cigarette. Anyways, continuing, he told me the night floater phenomena grew out of the witchcraft cult in the Middle Ages. Seems they didn't fly on broomsticks after all. It was the heads that flew. Their heads. He told me many other things, but I stopped listening to him and began chanting in my head. 1 steamboat, 2 steamboats, 3 steamboats, 4 steamboats, to try and drown him out. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I jumped to my feet and said, "Get out. Get out of my home." He didn't argue, and while I couldn't see his face, I was sure he was smirking. "All right. We'll see you when you're ready. We'll be right outside." And then he was gone. They were outside for a while. Whenever I looked through a crack in the curtains, I could see their heads hovering or flitting around my windows. But they were silent, and eventually they left. Once I knew they were gone, I got in the car and fled. I drove aimlessly around the midnight streets before winding up in this coffee shop with all its night people, the people that God has forgotten. And I sit here, looking out the window, waiting for dawn, drinking black coffee, and I wish I was also smoking cigarettes like that old blues song. Will I do it? Make the transition and become one of them? Become a night floater? Can I resist? Can I resist? Pray for me. Please, all of you, pray for me. But I know I'll never get out of these blues alive.